Hello, I'm Adam from Wild Team, and in this short video I'm going to give you an overview of the new version 4 project management for wildlife conservation best practice. And one of the main benefits of using this project management for wildlife conservation best practice is, although it can be used as a standalone approach, it can be much more effectively and easily used in conjunction with all the other best practices in the wildlife conservation professional series. And this is one of its key benefits. It's linked to other ways of doing things. So you manage your project using the project management approach. You engage stakeholders with this engaging stakeholder approach, and they all use the same terminology, the same processes. So they're really practical and easy to use for a conservation professional or a conservation team. So the first part of this best practice, the introduction, you find out about its purpose, how you can apply it, specifically how you can apply it in connection with the other best practices in this series, and also gives you an overview of what the best practice contains. In the project section, the project itself is defined, and it's described how a project, the conservation project, fits into a wider conservation program. Very importantly also, and this is a really important thing to get right for conservation teams, is to how to name and split up different levels of work, right from a work package, which is a collection of activities, right down to an individual task that an individual would take on and do. The principles section then outlines 5 key principles that you need to follow in order to carry out and manage a conservation project both effectively and also ethically. So, for example, what my favorite principle here is the focus on impact principle, where you have to spend more attention and focus on the difference you're making in conservation to the activities, about how you're making that impact. Now, the roles section is one of the most important bits of guidance in the whole of this best practice, and indeed in the whole of any of our best practices, because if you don't get this right, then you waste a lot of time, and you also, conservation team members will get a lot of stress because it will be chaos in terms of trying to manage their work. So often in a conservation team, everyone will know everyone's name and their position within the organization. But when you have a project to run, you need to really clearly and specifically define what everyone's level of decision making is and what is their responsibility with respect to the project, so that everyone in the team knows, well, I can make a decision on X, Y, and Z, but for A, B, and C, I have to go to my line manager to get sign off on that. So, because if you get this thing right, then projects run really smoothly. And I've seen a lot of project teams that either don't use roles at all, or could definitely strengthen how they use roles to help better manage their projects. So the phases section tells you how to break down and manage a conservation project from start to finish. So the first phase is plan, where you make your project plan, what impact you want to make, how you're going to make that impact, how much it costs, what the team looks like. Then you move on to the second phase, which is fund. So you raise enough funds for you to then continue with that project. The next phase is then prepare, where you've got the funds in the bank, and now you set up your team, set up all your processes ready for the main bit of the conservation work, which is carried out in the implement phase. Once that phase is finished, you then move on to the close phase, where you wrap everything up and stop any further activities on the project and report on the project impact to both your project team, but also to your stakeholders. The next section is called control processes, and these are the processes you carry out as a manager or as a team to make sure your project has the best chance of keeping on track. And there's 2 control processes. One is managing progress, That's kind of like business as usual. Everything's going fine. You have status meetings, you make status reports. It's very straightforward. Everyone knows what's happening. But of course, from day one of a project, things change. And so there's also a process called managing change. So as new information and changing conditions fly at you, you need to be able to know what to do with that. What is this type of new information or changing condition, and how do I manage that? And this section gives you guidance on that. So when we're talking about managing change, you're basically managing either lessons learned, something that you found out can help you manage the project more effectively, or didn't work very well, something where you can update how you work very quickly. You have risks, where things that haven't happened yet, but if they did happen, they would be detrimental to your project. You have issues, things that have actually happened and are causing problems to your project. And you have opportunities. These are positive things, either potential positive things or things that are actually happening right now that you have to assess and evaluate and decide, well, what do I do about this opportunity? How do I respond to that? And these control processes gives you a very clear pathway of doing that, making decisions for that, logging what you're going to do about it, and so that everyone's clear on how to progress a project, even in difficult and changing circumstances. Administrative processes are all about getting two things right: getting your meetings right and getting how you manage your documents right. Both of those things are not very difficult. I'm sure all of you have, run meetings, been a part of meetings, created documents. But as you know, from that experience, if you get small things wrong, they give you a lot of pain. So if, for example, the roles in a meeting are not clear, who's the chair, who's the note taker, what are they meant to do, how do they record the decisions? If you don't get all those things right, then, well, everyone goes away, no one knows what to do, and everyone starts emailing each other, and possibly you have to have the same meeting all over again. So admin processes tells you how to run an effective meeting. Likewise with documents. I've often seen it in teams whereby it's just a kind of giant committee where everyone has to be happy in order for the document to be finalized, and it just takes forever. And you could also create low quality documents by trying to please everyone, basically, and you just create a very slow process. So in admin processes, it tells you how to create a document both quickly, effectively, and of a high quality, and by issuing roles to people about who's going to sign off on this, who's producing it, who's contributing it, who's a reviewer, and so everyone knows their role in that, and no one's upset when someone makes a decision, say, well, I understand what you want to do with this document, but I've decided to do something else because I'm the sign-off authority. So it gives you a very clear pathway to creating good quality documents. Now, throughout this best practice, there are a number of project documents that we refer to, the main one being the project plan, another one being an online project tracker, where all the team can document and update the tasks that they're carrying out. So this document section basically tells you all about each of those documents in a bit more detail, what it's comprised of, and how it's linked to other documents. For example, you can use the contents from your project tracker to very quickly make a project report without creating a whole new content for that report. And remember, the project management best practice is connected to all the other best practices in the wildlife conservation professional best practice series. And you can use them if you feel like one is particularly of interest to you and relevance to your work, then just grab that one. But I really encourage you to look at them as a suite of connected best practices that will form the basis, a very strong foundation for managing any type of conservation work, and most importantly, having more conservation impact. If you want to download these best practices, then please visit our website, wildteam.org.uk. And also, I really encourage you to join our online global community of conservation professionals called Wild Hub. And this is where you can quickly connect with your fellow conservationists, and you can help solve problems, you can share challenges, you can ask for help, and you can also see training, funding and networking opportunities that you might otherwise not have been aware of. It's also free to join. So download the manuals for free, join the community for free. If you want to do anything else like training, you can find out about that on our website. And also please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we'll post additional videos in the future that might be of interest. All right, thanks very much.